So we carry on with chapter 7, and we have reached the stage where which is railway economics and strategic management. And we have reached the stage where we need to talk about organizational culture and innovation. So without further ado, let's have a look at this section content. So here we go. So just a moment. Yes, this is what we'll be talking about: organizational culture, technology management, and innovation. I'll be talking about management styles, then I'll be talking about organization culture, innovation, and technology management. So let's start with the first one, management styles. So there are, but as a beginning, there are management styles affects organizational culture and affects innovation, and innovation is also being affected by organizational culture and can affect the organizational culture as well style. So there is an interdependence between those two concepts, and there is a definitely significant impact of each on the other. So there are many challenges that is facing the railway: reducing costs, expanding capacity, reducing carbon, and engaging customers. This is just to put them on a very high level, not to focus on how we can reduce costs or how we can engage customers more. So there is something about management styles, and McGruger in general says there is two kind of management. There is theory X and theory Y. And theory X, the manager is like a dictator who it tells the rules and have a tight control and no development, and have some kind of a depressing or oppressing culture on its staff. So there is a clear way of doing things, and they have to stick to that. And there is the theory Y, which is like the manager makes the staff participate in decision making and reward their achievements and push them further on doing more. And this is theory Y. And there is Tenenbaum and Schmidt say there are different kinds of managers, moving from dictators to leaders, or democratic leaders to dictators. And he says there is a manager that is tells, and he uses a lot of authority to be a leader. And there is one that is sells, losing less authority. There is one that consults, and then there is one who shares, and finally there is one who delegates. And this is the one who uses the least amount of authority to manage. So management styles, it's about how you can make a progress. And I don't want you to get this wrong, but the railway organizations are safety organizations. And in many cases, they might have adopted some kind of a military culture that things should be done on time, and you have to follow the rules to be safe and to achieve a great reliability. And in many cases, for example, if you have a position on track or you need to maintain a track, these things are important. It's important that everyone is wearing safety shoes. It's important that everyone stick to leaves the track if the train is passing. Because if this did not happen, if someone just wanted to follow his own thought, this might lead to a disaster. But so in general, the railway operations might require some level of strict and kind of very kind of autocratic management, while you need something that is more democratic. So, but innovation requires something that is more democratic, and maybe you'd have some kind of a separate innovation center that feeds the operation or that supports the innovation. Here we come to the concept of organizational culture. And what's a culture? There is a group of culture elements that a group of people should share to form the organization culture. They should share values. Do we have a value for innovation? Do we value innovation? Do we value knowledge? Do we respect each other? Do we have what are our beliefs? So we should have some kind of beliefs that it's not necessarily that we should have we should believe in the same God, but maybe we should believe that science is good for the world, or tolerance is a good ethic. So we should have common beliefs that can work in supporting us to achieve something greater. Then you have norms, what people have been doing in general, and then you practices, what do people practice, and meanings, where do people find meaning, and the meaning of their life, and the meaning of their life, and how they can be fulfilled or satisfied. And in this world, you might find that in some culture, people like to work with people from the same nationality, from the same norms, from the same tradition, which is fine. But maybe you can't create innovation within that. So, so you have to have this kind of a common glue, if I may say, of values, ethics, norms that is acceptable by everyone and is understood by everyone. And to be an innovative culture, to be able to push the boundaries of what is possible. And this is for you to think about, because definitely in multinational teams, and I have experience in this, it is difficult. Maybe you have value for science, value for innovation, value for intelligence, and maybe you have beliefs that maybe if I work hard, I can be successful. And you might have norms: we work hard, we come on time, and that is the practice. And you can find meaning in financial rewards or monetary rewards. But it's important that you get a strong understanding of the team culture to make sure that you can build on that. So understanding organization culture, I think there is organizations that have power culture, dominance of small number of people in the organization, and you have a role culture, clear roles for individuals, and you have a task culture when teams are formed to address tasks. There is a person culture. Employees are allowed to make decisions for themselves. So the power culture, where you have a group of people who control the decision of the organizations and they run it, and there is always a manager. But it is bad if the organization is hijacked by few. But sometimes this is what is happening within organization, and people try to some kind of be close to the power circles to be able to succeed. And sometimes it works, sometimes it does not work. Sometimes you really don't know what you should be doing. There is a role culture, and the role culture where you have clear roles for individuals. And by clear roles of individuals, I mean you would have for example, you are a salesperson, you would be doing the role that is associated with sales. You are an engineer, you would be doing the role that is associated with engineering. You are a driver, you would be doing the driving tasks. So there is a role culture. And big organizations, of course, the role culture is more cherished. And sometimes, by the way, sometimes having clear roles prevent many conflicts. Then you have a task cultures, and task cultures when teams are formed to address a task. So we have to do project 1, project 2, project 3. Then there is a person culture, and a person culture, employees are allowed to make decisions for themselves. And by that, maybe you need to open a new section, and I have seen some organizations that provide a manager or a new person with full authority and to be whatever he wants to be, and to create the small organization that he wants, just to build these new sections or to build new innovation. So each one of those can define a culture in addition to the values, beliefs, norms, practices, and meaning. So you should understand, there are different ways of understanding culture. Are we a power culture? Are we a role culture? Are we a task culture? So that this affects how your organization works. And this leads to the discussion of innovation. Now, how we can be innovative. And some people will come up with an idea or with a research and they say, oh, this is innovation. No, this is the beginning of innovation. Innovation actually is having a product or service that is new to the market and is valued by the market. So innovation finds value if people has valued it. And it's a long journey from a new idea, from a novel idea, from a new thinking to practice. And so who can do innovation? Innovation only happens from those guys who has the capability to follow through their ideas until realization. It will never happen if you don't have the capability. It's not about mental strength or it's about physical strength. as much as they are. For example, mental strength is important, that you have patience on the long term, but it's also about it's also about having the resources to sustain that journey. It's a long journey. It's a tough journey. It's a journey of setbacks. It's a journey of disbeliefs. It's a journey of losses. It's a journey of trying to persuade the market. It's a long journey. And private companies, usually, for example, I had a private company. If you want to build this in the railway, you might have an old railway expert utilizing the skills of young individuals. This can be a good combination, and it's not necessarily old or young. It should be an expert utilizing the skills of a young individuals. This can work, and definitely you might need a new idea, and new idea can come from the expert, or it can come from the skilled individual, but you need both of them to follow through the idea until realization. It can happen in research centers, and research centers, I want to talk about this in a little bit more details. Research centers, sometimes there is a tendency to focus on creating knowledge, or creating science, or creating a tree leaf, which help in understanding what is happening in the adding a leaf to the tree of knowledge, as Elon Musk said. And some research centers want to focus on creating fundamentally new knowledge, thinking about generalizations, new equations, new way of calculating things that is better, that is can achieve results to higher level of accuracy, that can provide a new understanding, a new paradigm. And some research centers would like to focus on bringing small prototype, or the beginning of an innovation, making the idea more believable, making the idea have some kind of proof of concept. And I have seen both, and in many cases you might end up not having the prototype with a great promise, but also not the research that is fundamentally changing the way we understand things. And definitely big universities, so for example, if you are in MIT or Berkeley or Harvard or Stanford or Oxford or Cambridge, they have definitely more influence on innovation and on new knowledge than other universities, and definitely their research results are much more valued, and they have the resources in many cases to build on some of the successes they have. So you don't really want to end up in a situation where you are not creating great fundamental knowledge, but you are not building a usable and testable prototype. And the third strong component is big research labs in big companies. And big research labs in big companies, and by that I mean, for example, Google has its own research lab. It has Google X, Tesla, Facebook, maybe you have Alstom in the railway world, Siemens, Thales. They all have their research center. And this research center is very focused because it's coming from from an organization that is selling products, selling signaling systems, selling rolling stock. And they want to focus in a new area of innovation, and they want to bring sustainable results, and results that they can sell, and a product and a new service that they can sell and build. So there is a great focus in these big research labs, and they do push the product range they have, and some of their products become successful, and some of their products do not become successful, and some actually never achieve innovation. So they try, and their products fail in the market. So these three aspects, each has its own, let me say, each has its own challenges, but definitely innovation would happen more in big research labs, in private companies than in research centers. I do believe that. And I do believe also it depends on the university or the research center itself, and the people that work in the research center, whether innovation will happen or not. Now I need to talk about the values that any innovation would require. So there is a certain number of values that any innovation would require. It requires a great level of trust. If innovation happens in many cases in a team, if there is no trust within the team, no one would push the boundaries of knowledge, and no one would try to create that the next big thing, because well, he does not trust the other person. And trust is a big thing. Sometimes it's affected by the media. Sometimes it's affected by not being fluent in a certain language. Sometimes it's affected by the way you look, the way you dress. And it's a really big concept, trust. Do I trust this person? Can I make innovation with this person? And I have seen it in many multinational research centers where you have people, for example, from China, from Europe, from the Middle East, from the States. They are coming together and they are trying to work together. And you see this pool of talents coming together and trying to build something. And what is fun about this, that if you did not have that glue of trust, things would not work. So you need to focus a lot. Do these people trust me? Do I trust them? Why I don't trust them? Why they don't trust me? And the second thing, you need to think about hard work. Innovation would not happen if you are sitting around and you are really just chillaxing or relaxing. The idea needs very strong persuasion to reach the reality in terms of development as well as in terms of sales. So it would take a long time to be built, not really long, but as much as that really hard work and your passion, and you put a great level of perfection into what you believe in to make it a reality. Also, it requires skills. So, and this is why many people are bringing skills from all over the world. And you see the big tech companies bringing skills from Asia, from India, from many parts of the world, and to try to utilize this skill and to build on these skills. And sometimes you have a clear vision, but you really need the skills to build it. You need to build a website, or you need to build an engine, and you are not an expert, and you have some expertise in and knowledge, but you really need that craftsman, that level of skill, of that great developer, that great welder, to build a proper prototype, to reach a level of manufacturing that can be mainstreamed. So that skill is important, and a lot of people are bringing skill from all over the world. The fourth thing is about vision and imagination. And I have seen it many cases where people really have the skill, and maybe they are hardworking, but there is no vision and there is not much imagination, and they really can't. And this is where the idea is coming from. You need that new realization. You need to think this new product will look like this, and you need to describe it. And there are different levels of innovation, and the hard ones, it might affect your brain. And I'm not joking. The hard ones, they can be so new, so novel that you don't believe them, and they become something like unique. You can't believe such a thing exists. This is if you are innovating on a theoretical level, on the as you are bringing a new understanding of the world, or a new understanding. It can be very, very tough on your mind, because it's a completely new understanding. So this is the first one, which is about where is the level of innovation, what is the level of innovation and how it can come. But it needs vision, or it can be a fundamentally new product, or it can be just a fundamentally new service, or a new upgrade on a certain service, or a new utilization of certain technology in a new area. So there is different levels of innovation, and the highest one is really where you achieve innovation on the theoretical level. You bring that fundamentally new understanding to the world. Then you need problem solving, and problem solving, you need to face a problem, solve it. Then you need prototyping. You need to find out how you can prototype things. And what I have seen, that there are many management and organization culture fails to create an environment where these values are lived. Either vision is not there, or skill is not there, or trust. And you need to embrace failure, tolerance, feeling safe. These are very, very important. Now I need to talk about technology management. And technology management goes through a life cycle, from creation to acceleration to maturity to obsolescence. And for example, you can have a product here, then it's become successful, then it reaches its end of life, and it can be unsuccessful product, so it fails quickly. High successful products have a steep adoption, then decline, or it can be late adoption, or it can be this. So it is not necessarily that S, but it's one of those S's. And to look at this, any product would have to go through awareness. People should know about it, expansion, reaching maturity, and decline. And for example, if you diffusion is like how much is it's distributed. So if you look about controlling computers using brainwaves, we are still knowing about this. And thin client computing, I'm not very much familiar with that. Cloud computing is expanding. Nanotechnology and biotechnology, definitely with COVID. 3D videos, 4G wireless, and maybe now 5Gs. Tablet computer, or 4G wireless. I'm not sure if, I think 5G is wireless as well. Tablet computer, mobile business apps, Windows 7, outsourcing offshore desktop computers, Windows XP. Nobody's using Windows XP anymore. It's very late. It's very old technology now. So this is how, if you want to procure technology and you are in the railway world, you need to really try to bring it here. So you have a competitive advantage, and you are aware of it. It has reached some tractions, and you will build it. And if you have enough risk, you might take it in a very early stage. So this will be a very early stage procurement. So we need to look at Hyperloop. Hyperloop is a maglev active maglev kind of train that is going through a vacuum, which is some kind of a pipe cross sections or a tunnel cross section, a light tunnel cross section that is a vacuum that air has been taken out of that vacuum, and now there is no air resistance. There is no even resistance between wheel and rail because it's a maglev, and it wants to reach speeds of 1,200 kilometers per hour. And there is a story behind this. So Elon Musk has come up with the idea, and he just open sourced the idea and write about it on Twitter. And a group of guys come and build that company, Hyperloop. And recently they have run a test reaching around 170 kilometers per hour within the vacuum, and it was a safe within that test. They have a test tunnel or a test pipe, and it is fine. We don't say it's not fine. It's fine. It's a technology that is developing. It's growing. But what is interesting that Elon Musk is working in this technology while he has come up with this idea while also working on SpaceX. And there is similarity between SpaceX and Hyperloop, and maybe people don't see it. I see both of them as rockets. And what is interesting about SpaceX that it's launch rockets, then it brings them back to Earth. So there is some level of acceleration, and then there is level of braking until you reach a full stop on Earth. And I'm not sure if you really can apply this concept in a Hyperloop where you need to accelerate, reach a specific speed, then you need to brake and stop at a station. So I don't know if this is possible, but if it's possible, then it would be the beginning of a great development. But definitely, this is one is dependent on fuel, and the other is dependent on magnetic levitation in terms of control. So control is an important part. How we can control the speed, control the position of the train, control that train does not collide. This is very, very important. So technology specification, let's talk about the fundamentals. Now I am a procurement manager, and I'm responsible for procuring some technology. So I need to ask the question, is the fundamental problem being addressed through technology? And sometimes technology is not the way to address a problem. It could be a cultural problem, it could be a design problem, it could be an education problem. So it's not always that the technology is the solution. And is the performance specification appropriate? And by that we mean, do we believe that the performance is appropriate, and can we achieve for example, if it's about speed, can we reach 1,200 kilometers speed? This is what we need. If this train reaches 400 kilometers per hour, is it something that we accept as a acceptable level of performance or not? The second thing is about achievability. Is risk controlled? Is the technical operating environment adequately explained or not? Then we need to talk about how you can lower technology risk. You need to implement technology evaluation processes. You need to keep the authorities well informed. You need to avoid the choice of high-risk systems. You need to work closely with pre-qualified suppliers. You need to identify key implementation constraints, and you need to identify technologically risk factors. So this is the beginning of how you would be thinking about how you will lower your technology risk. And based on that, you would make a decision, either you procure this technology or not. So this was the end of chapter 7. I hope you enjoy it. So I think this is the end of our chapter and the course as well. The railway systems engineering and railway systems engineering, and we have provided a very good introduction. We are looking for the next generation of innovators, and in our group we have a very large number of startups and small companies that is looking for the next generation of engineers to run and build. So please do not hesitate to be in touch, and we'll see you soon, hopefully building the next success or just for a random chat. Have a great evening, and we'll see you in another course. Take care.